Hey, what's up, everybody? Everybody. Good morning. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. Wow. Thursday in the week. Took Tuesday off. Grandson's graduating from high school. I feel pretty good about it. That's a good thing. Congratulations to all the graduates out there. Good job. Good job. Moving forward. This is a beautiful thing. Accomplishment. Go forth in excellence. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, so Juneteenth is coming up, right? And really been immersed in the whole conversation about Juneteenth and talk a little bit about that a little later on. We're just waiting for him he'll come on in a few minutes. He's got some responsibilities to tend to, but Brother Darren McAllister will come through and got some deep conversation for you there. But Juneteenth, been really immersed in the reflections and researching and all of that because we're doing two events in the virtual space. One is a full-on festival that we're doing, Black Arts LA, the Juneteenth Virtual Heritage Festival. That's a literal festival, online vendor booths, panel discussions. Really excited about it. You know, Panel discussions. We've built the platform on four, principles of freedom, like freedom. Juneteenth was economic freedom, freedom of social justice, academic freedom, and of course, arts freedom. So we have some announcements we're going to be making throughout the day with our artists, our bands, and everything, the speakers. It's going to be a really good time. And we'll probably put the link in the chat a little bit later. But then after that, we got, reflections of Juneteenth. After you've gone to all the festivals on Juneteenth, June 19th, we're going to have a live stream where it's deeply researched and talking about the I guess the word is vibration of emancipation in Texas, when they were finally, the enslaved were finally informed that they were, that they were free. It's Freedom Day. It becomes deep. It's like I'm not even going to give it all away, but that one's called Reflections of Juneteenth. Happy to have Ade Lamar come through and host it with us. And man, it's just really good. But just check out this little thing from the History Channel. I want to play for you. That is just a little 3-minute overview of what Juneteenth is. Check this out.
My name is Marcia Chatlin. I'm a professor of history and African American studies at Georgetown University. I'm a historian of African American life and culture. Juneteenth is a commemoration holiday of June 19th, 1865, when a group of African Americans in Galveston, Texas, received the news that they indeed were free. President Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, but news of the end of slavery in Texas had not traveled to this community until 1865. Since then, Juneteenth has been a day of commemoration of the struggle against slavery and a celebration of freedom. One of the biggest misconceptions about Juneteenth is that people often think that was the day that slavery ended in the United States. But in fact, the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery in the United States, was passed in the Senate on April 8th, 1864, and the House on January 31st, 1865. Although Juneteenth celebrates the knowledge that slavery had ended, it's important to remember that the conditions that mirrored slavery, whether it was Jim Crow or the suppression of civil rights or continued struggles to fight racism, those continued long after the end of slavery. And so the Juneteenth holiday reminds us of where we've come, and it also inspires us to think about the places we want to go. As African Americans left the South to pursue opportunities throughout the 20th century in northern and western cities, the celebration of Juneteenth moved from being a Texas-based celebration to a national one. in which people gathered with families and friends and community to remember the incredible struggle of a people against slavery and to create new traditions that allowed them to reflect about the struggle for civil rights and the ongoing struggle against racism. Although slavery was abolished in 1865, the fight for civil rights has continued to the present day. So Juneteenth provides people with a sense of encouragement and inspiration to continue to fight on behalf of their community and their families for freedom. And it also is a holiday that, as it continues to become more and more popular, it allows people to look back at the past and encourages them to learn more about African American history. As more and more institutions recognize Juneteenth and work to commemorate the incredible legacy of slavery in the United States, I hope Juneteenth becomes a day where people commit not only to acts of justice in their local community, but to investigate history in a more deep and thoughtful way.
Yeah. Wow, that was really something, eh? Yeah, that was really something, eh? Wow, Juneteenth. We're hard at work, and I just can't wait to present it. We'd like to just go ahead and begin to publicly thank the support of the AIDS Healthcare Foundation and the Black. They have a African American advocacy group within that organization to talk about, healthcare and AIDS. We're really thankful for their support. We're thankful for the support of City National Bank, who is also one of our supporters, and they also are bringing a great panel discussion about economic freedom, and we're going to talk a little more about that stuff. But then, you know what? That one, Reflections of Juneteenth at Dream Creator Studio, I'm really grateful and can't wait to see that one. Rhonda Love's really working hard in terms of the research and putting the dots together. We have, the Heritage Commissioner of Juneteenth in Galveston, Texas, who, has preserved a lot of the structures that were prominent in the day of the announcement, General Order 3 by General Granger. He gives a fascinating, overview of what actually happened in the city of Galveston at the time that the general order was there. I mean, it's really fascinating stuff. And then, you know what? Did you know that Juneteenth is also celebrated in Mexico? So yeah, it's some really deep and great stories, to advance our knowledge about our heritage right there. So we're just talking about Juneteenth, it's just coming up. We're hard at work producing some stuff, and we're just, going to wait a little bit more for our friend Darren. I know he has some responsibilities, but still want to just continue to come on and chat with you, chit chat. Just try to express some thoughts and perspectives, right? From culturally relevant perspective. That's what we're saying. Yeah. Juneteenth, man, the movement of the people in the history of the United States is really, really fascinating. And, this is the whole thing is how America was born and developed, right? If you look at American history from an African American perspective, it's deep, man. It's like, you say, wow. And we can all, collectively in our community identify, your roots are like Texas, Louisiana, South Carolina, Florida, that's our center when you go back back in time, back in the day. That's where our people come from. But then we come from other places, shoot, I'm hearing this phrase that stuck with my heart where they say, when when the enslaved ran in Texas, they didn't run north, they ran south. Also to southern regions, part of the slave trade. We've learned all about that, even in conversations that we've had here on Coffee Conversations, right? But remember last week, the brother was from Honduras, so we're everywhere, right? That's the thing. Well, I tell you what, I'm gonna check in and see where my folks are so we can get to it. And did y'all see where the hackers got the meat market um, and the oil company, and they paid the ransom to the hackers, right? And then they recovered several millions of cryptocurrency. You know the whole thing about cryptocurrency, and that's a raging question out there in the world. The notion of digital money markets, and so it was interesting to note that the ransom was paid in cryptocurrency, and then that the investigators, the government, was able to recover a portion of that ransom that was paid in digital currency. That was really, really something. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to sit here. It's just a few more minutes away. We'll just make this nice and smooth. Hey, because I really want you guys to hear from Brother Darren, and quite a story, written a book, just a good brother anyway. We have a lot of history, in the gospel side of things. Good stuff. Yeah. What else is going on? It's just really, we were also watching a news report this morning, about the COVID vaccines over in Africa. And, because we, pre-COVID, take, groups over to South Africa for Cape Town Jazz Festival, a few other cultural trips. And we want to look forward to seeing how we can do that again as we come out of this thing. And, it was, we need to watch our countries and our destinations really closely as they develop. They're a little bit behind us, and I don't know why, but Africa, they wait till the last to help, I guess. I don't know, but still we rise, right? Mm-hmm. So really happy. Mosa Cooper, I see you out there. Thank you. She is really a phenomenal woman. The Juneteenth festival, remember, in Los Angeles, used to be, back in the day, they had Jonathan Leonard, was a businessman. He took over Lamert Park, proper, right? And had a little Juneteenth, hoorah, some music and everything. And then, every year in Lamert Park, that was what would be happening. And then, Mr. Leonard passed away. And then Mosa Cooper, the head of the founder of the Black Arts Los Angeles organization, took that up, her and Gail Jennings, and they began to expand it and block off streets and everything out there in Lamert Park. You know how it goes. You probably, if you're in the LA area, Southern California area, you've probably rolled through there on a Juneteenth or on Labor Day. You know how it goes with the cultural fairs. And so now, we're working with the Black Arts Los Angeles to do this virtual festival, right? And it's a good thing. It's progressive, right? We're in a digital time, and as we even begin to create programs, communications just like this, this is we say this is the future, but it's the now, actually. So we're working with them to bring a full-on festival that's online. It's really an interesting perspective, right? You even have virtual vendor booths where you can come in and you can visit, businesses and people with valuable information. You can see their videos. You can talk to them through their booths. It's really interesting. It's free. Got to register. I'll put the link in there so you can register. But I was listening. We have some really great panels. I was looking at a list here of yes. Just jump in. This yeah. So we can hold on a minute. I'm gonna invite somebody in here. I don't know if I could do this quickly. If y'all don't mind, we can do this while we're waiting on this thing. Here we go. We're gonna put this. We're gonna put the links up there a little later on how you can register for that thing there. Here you go. So we're just trying to wing it till my man comes in here. Bear with me, guys. We're sharing information. It's just going freestyle off the top of the head. Sometimes it's like that. Okay. Hold on. Look in your messenger. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, anyway, so the Juneteenth piece, we're just trying to get to the bottom of it and share that information. It's really awesome to be able to, learn this information, and I've been, it's just awesome, to learn this history and really focus on it. And there she is. Look at Rhonda Love. Check it in. Beep, beep. Good morning, Rhonda Love.
Hey there.
Yes, yeah. Rhonda, look, Rhonda is, y'all know Rhonda Love. She's in the back. That's our super producer. She is really doing the doggone thing. And it is good that, to put you in because, Rhonda, I'm flying by the seat of my pants right now. I'm freestyling. While I wait for our guests, right? But the Juneteenth has really been an incredible experience as we move through and produce two, events in the digital space. And just the history of it, I've listened to you, I've watched you really do a deep dive in research. Rhonda is the research department of the Dream Creator experience right there for real. And so it's really awesome to learn the stuff that you shared with me. Talk about it a little bit. What have you felt from your spirit as you've gone through this process?
Oh gosh, well, thank you so much for having me as a pocket guest.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, and I'm really excited. I've always been an avid learner. My mom told me that as a kid, I would just ask so many questions. I wanted to know why everything worked. So when I talk to her now, she says, and I share with her my research from doing these film projects, she says, it just makes sense because you ask so many kids. She says, you just bored me to death. Just, why is this? Why is that? And everything. So I'm thankful for that. And it really has helped me in just discovering new stuff and things that aren't told. A lot of our history as it was shaped and those narratives were shaped, we didn't have a seat at the table to share our perspective and to share our side. And here we are, all these years later, hundreds of years later, decades later, we're revisiting these stories and we're able to put everything on the table and get a different perspective than we've been told, perspectives that probably weren't even shared with us when we were in school. I know I'm learning a lot of stuff, and you hear people say it all the time, they didn't tell us this in school. We didn't learn this in school. And we didn't. It was an American narrative that they wanted, on the global stage of the planet. And, like anyone, oftentimes you don't share your deep, dark secrets. You hide them, you cover them, something that you don't feel so great about. But it was there, it happened, and it's real. And so for me right now, as a filmmaker who is really avid about telling the stories and making sure that we get the truth, and telling truth through art, I'm discovering a lot of stuff, and it's a joy to be able to bring this, to the marketplace, to communities, and to help enlighten us and have a different perspective. And so with that, I've been able to just discover a lot of things. Like one of the things we're going to talk about, and it's one of the biggest myths around Juneteenth, and that is, we tend to believe, based on the narrative that's been shaped, that the folks in Texas and in Galveston didn't get the news of the Emancipation Proclamation until 1865. That's not true. There are studies, and we're working with a historian who is one of our guests, and I have some news to share because I just got off the phone with him. He does deep archaeological dives, and there were actually over 100 publications, maybe 120 publications during the time in 1863, 1865. When the message reached Texas, and it was published, and it was well known about the Emancipation Proclamation, that the slaves were free. However, the other side of that story that didn't take main stage was that the slaves were not. It wasn't the proclamation that set the people free. It was the men with the guns. And the reason why I took the men with the guns to set the people free, because for one, Texas did not feel like it needed to adhere or obey Lincoln's orders. And also, you're talking about Galveston, Texas, where slave trade during that time was just enslavement was a big business. It was the moving and trafficking of human beings through slavery was big business. It was more productive and more business than land. I mean, slave business was bigger than the ownership of land back then. And so what a lot of people don't understand is when the Emancipation Proclamation took effect and when finally the slaves in Texas were free, it created a lot of poverty overnight because these enslavers did not own these human beings anymore. So it created a big dip in their wealth, as well as creating a lot of poverty for slaves who were just for enslaved people who were just turned loose into to the American soil without any type of support or assistance or anything of that nature to help them transition into a new life of freedom. So I get to study all of this stuff and share it and put it in creative ways through education and entertainment to inspire people and to help us learn and have a broader perspective of what has really happened to us in this country. And when I say us, I mean us as a people, no matter what color, but us as human beings on the planet. I get to share those stories and add a little bit more truth to what we know about, and it's been great.
Yeah, that's really awesome, Rhonda. And now, I see that Darren is there. Hold on a minute.
Hi, Darren.
I will bring him in, but Darren is going to be talking about surviving, and what you're just describing. I'm trying to get in here. What you're just describing right now is we have survived, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. We have absolutely survived.
Mm-hmm,
Hi, Darren.
Hey, Rhonda, how you doing? Can you guys hear me?
I've been your stand-in until we got you here in the studio.
Well, look, I couldn't have a better one. My gosh. I mean, I probably should let you keep going.
Greg, I'll make this announcement. I'll make this quick announcement and then I'll let you guys take it away. Okay. So we've been working with Sam Collins, a nationally renowned historian in the birthplace of Juneteenth, Galveston, Texas. He is amazing. If you Google him, you'll see him in Black Enterprise. You'll see him in Forbes. You'll see him in the New York Times. And we have been spending just an insurmountable amount of time with him getting this story. He's created a documentary or produced a documentary called Juneteenth, the Galveston Story. And so we have the trailer that we were going to be really promoting during this time of Juneteenth celebration. But I just got off the phone with him, and he wants to, he's going to allow us to do a screening of it in Black Arts LA Heritage, Juneteenth Heritage celebration this year. So you've got the screening of that that's going to be added to the event this year. Yeah. So we'll be screening that with a conversation for the LA Juneteenth event.
All right, you got a deal. Okay, that's a beautiful thing. Making me smile. Okay, wow, what a story. Thank you so much, Rhonda. Thank you. Wow, that's exciting news. Mm-hmm.
I'll send you the trailer where you can close out this broadcast with the trailer so people can check it out after you and Darren have this great conversation.
All right, you got a deal. Thank you so much. That's Rhonda Love.
All right.
Super producer Rhonda Love.
Bye, you guys.
So, good morning, Darren McAllister.
Good morning, Greg Johnson. Man, I am so glad to be with you. As you can see, I'm rolling. Actually, I am parked, but I'm always on the run, man. But most importantly, the best thing is technology allows us to do what we need to do when we need to do it.
It sure does, my brother. So look, so good to see you. How's everything going? And how's you been in this COVID environment? Family okay?
Family is wonderful, man. Yeah. Judy is fantastic. Throughout the pandemic, I had all of my 3 adult children with us, which has been an adjustment. But it's been cool, man, because we get a chance. Everyone gets along great, and just, we were able to love on each other and support. I couldn't imagine, one, as a parent, having your child away, just being concerned how they might be. And then secondly, giving them some security of each other and, mom and dad around, I think really helped. So I'm glad we were able to be together.
That's good, man. That's good. It's interesting. We were reflecting on Juneteenth, as you heard, and just, something popped into my consciousness about survival and how we've, as a people, have been able to survive, and, just showing, man, just even in context of a pandemic, you survive through family love, you understand. And so that's a beautiful thing, man. Hey, listen, tell the people a little bit about you here. And I'll just say this, I'm at an age where I see, wow, these eyes have seen a lot. You know what I mean? Your eyes have seen a lot.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I think we met, Greg, and really connected shortly, like back in the 90s, the early 90s after the riots, just wanting to do some things in the community then. And at that particular time, I was actually a police officer with LAPD on the front lines during that time. And just to see, all the devastation that took place in our community. And then you see some of the cycle of the violence. Even initially what propagated that as the Rodney King beating, and then the verdict, what it was like to be a police officer, a Black man in that particular time, dealing with the same issues. I had parents coming to me asking me, what should I tell my son if he stopped by the police? How should he handle that? And now I have an adult African-American son, obviously, that, I'm not having to ask, I'm having to explain to him the same things to be conscious of, when he's out and about, and, to hear just, now he's the same age I was when I first started out as a police officer. And, just to be able to explore all those dynamics, but then to evolve and see, the justice system from the African-American perspective, the economic challenges, the educational challenges that we're faced with. So all those different dynamics, but yet and still we as Black people survive. And I think you hit it on the head. We didn't just survive independently. I believe we survived under 2 forces. One, the grace of God, without question. And secondly, the family and community structure and unit. That's where we find our real strength and tangible love. Man, when you don't have that family and community structure that's undergirding you, you don't have the skill sets to do it on your own and navigate on your own. We desperately need that. And so, in this season and what you're doing, as far as the positivity in the community, with your show here, I just wanted to do whatever I could to help support you, my brother, because you've been on the front lines grinding for years to say, hey, this is what we can achieve as a people together. So kudos to you, man. My hat's off to you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just out here trying to do it, brother.
No, you
But
ain't
listen,
trying. You're doing it for real.
So now, what is the name of your book?
So my book is called Survivors of Storms.
Mm-hmm.
And the book was really birthed out of what I observed over probably, obviously, 20 years of law enforcement, and I would say a lifetime as a Black man, and one that has been involved in the church world, and ministry. That those three dynamics really transcribe and translate from us being not just survivors, but victors and not the victim. Because a lot of times we can say we survive. What do we survive from? And what do we survive for? I believe that we survive, all the different challenges of life to help someone else through their storm, to help them get through their storm. And so the book, it deals with one of the probably most devastating storms that anyone can ever face in life, which is the loss of life, the loss of a loved one, the loss of a mother, the loss father, children, brother, sister. When I deal with some of the issues that are confronting from a minister standpoint, people who come for prayer and different needs in the church and counsel, one of the most devastating seasons of their life is when they've experienced the loss of a loved one. That's a heavy storm. So the book outlines my personal experience in that regard, but not only mine, others, as well as it gives you some key components to focus on as far as your belief system. And if you didn't have a belief system, it helps you establish a belief system to give you some core values to go back to as a foundation to get you through the storm.
Man, that's important right now as we come through this time of unprecedented, pandemic. Who would have thought, Derek McAllister? It's like the stories of the Bible, right? Just like straight pestilence happening.
Exactly, man. We got off a plane coming in from Virginia on March 11th of 2019. And I knew this is when I knew something was like really big. We had plans for the rest of the year, calendar of events, all of that at the church in the city, wife doing concerts, all those things. And on the 11th of March, that's when the NCAA canceled the tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, this is big. This is going to be big. Canceling an event like that, and then the next day the NBA follows suit and says, "Hey, we closing arenas." Then you recognize, man, this is not going to be something that's going to just pass overnight. And I had not been on a plane in 16 months up until last week when I went to Dallas. And when you recognize that from a standpoint of you're used to traveling and being and going and different venues and interacting with people, and you're saying, wow, this is the longest time. I mean, I was talking with Bishop Blake, and he says this is the longest time for him in 38 years.
Wow.
Can you imagine that, man?
Wow.
That's the longest extended time.
Wow. Woo, it's so, where I was, man, I was actually in the LA County Hall of Administration I was there for a census press conference, right? Because we were
Right.
working
That's
with the
right. It was
census.
census time.
Yeah, and we were there for the everybody from all over the county who was involved in census work was there, and it was supposed to be a big press conference. They ended up trying to cancel the press conference, but we the people just we said no, we want to have it, so we had an impromptu press conference. Then as
Mhm.
we were leaving, I saw Mayor Garcetti and all these city and county officials coming in the same hall. They're going to have a press conference, and I'm seeing all the news reports. So I stayed, and that was I was in the room when he did the actual shutdown, and when the county
Wow.
did the shutdown of and I have
Wow.
on video, I walked up to him afterwards. I said, well, Mayor Garcetti, does he mean the churches too? And I have it on video. He had, it was like he hadn't thought about it. And then he just said, no, well, they're going to have to, follow the state guidelines also. But we were there
Yeah.
right at the eruption.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
And what an eruption it was.
Yes, brother. Yes. Who would have thought, but this all good. It's all good. Darren, you mentioned we've been friends since, man, the 90s, that's for sure. And, one of the things we talk about sometimes here is the Knott's Berry Farm Gospel Showcase. And
Oh yeah.
you were at the first one.
Yeah, man.
you
Yeah.
know, you know. So the story that I like to tell about that is, just in a moment of social justice. So your wife, Dr. Judy McAllister, esteemed choir master, right? So she's on the stage and she's singing and the crowd is rocking. And, it was our first year. So Buena Park PD is there and they're up on the roofs, because, there's thousands of Black people there. And,
Right.
just
Right. Right.
the vibe of Buena Park, California. They were all on the roof. Judy McAllister stopped in the middle of her song and began to minister to those guys. It's like, we don't need no police escort. This is a gospel concert. That was so classic in my mind.
That's her. That's her
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, good stuff.
It's not so much to be antagonistic to the police, but to let them know, you know, if once you get to know us and not necessarily just profile us, and that's one of the reasons I advocate, man, today with Chief Moore, that we have to have more officers of color on the department and in our community. Because when you have people from your community that have an understanding of your community, of your people, it bridges a lot of the misunderstandings and lack of empathy, as well as just overall ability to connect with people. The challenge I honestly feel in law enforcement today is because you have people that don't live in the community, have never interacted with certain dynamics of a community that we have. And so when they come in ignorant, and then they act ignorant. And then they're like, well, we thought. I said, no. I used to give an illustration, like I knew as a kid, we had 3 neighborhood winos. I lived in the hood. And the police officer that covered our area was African American. And when we saw Mr. Jackson was drunk, we knew Mr. Jackson was harmless. The police came, he made yell and fuss and do all that and wave his hands, but they said, hey, get up there, Mr. Jackson, on your porch, stay on your porch, leave these folks alone. He said, okay. It wasn't coming in, pulling out guns, roughing him up, putting handcuffs on him, because they knew who he was,
Mm-hmm.
and, he wakes up in the next morning, he got a hangover, but he's alive,
Mm-hmm.
where now you're seeing people that come in that may not understand some of even the mental crisis or trauma that people are dealing with, and they overreact or use excessive force. And I think if they had an understanding, better training, but more importantly, have been engaged in the community, we wouldn't have as many unfortunate and tragic incidents that we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What was your gut when you watched Derek Chauvin just basically murder George Floyd? Like when you saw that, just stuff like from your police experience and everything. I mean, you understand the dynamics of a situation there. You know, what when you saw that, what was your heart?
So Greg, I have always advocated for policing that treats people with three things: dignity, fairness, and respect. All three of those elements were missing. There was no dignity, there was no fairness, and absolutely no respect or regard for George Floyd by then Officer Chauvin. And so when I saw that, first and foremost, all those things that were missing, and then to see how long it went on and the extended, it was very just painful for me as a Black man. But eliminate that, just as a person, as a human being, to watch another human being feel that they had the right to take someone's life in that capacity. Every time it was played on television, when I watched the trial, I felt heartache, man, because I realized that it shouldn't have happened. It didn't have to happen. And for it to have happened is a tragedy. And so, I've heard things, well, we've done enough, enough laws have been changed. And I said, nah, it should always be current in our minds, because for some reason we have the capacity to forget. We have the capacity to forget that if you take things into your own hands and feel like you have to be judge, jury, and executioner with someone's life over something that was not a threat to your life, the policy in every police department, as you know, Greg, I was an FBI agent also. So I looked at law enforcement not only from the local standpoint with the Los Angeles Police Department, but from the national platform. The only justification that is used to use deadly force is to prevent another life from being taken. That is the only justification. Outside of that, it's not allowed. And so when someone's life is taken and another person's life was not a threat, George Floyd was no longer a threat to that officer. He was handcuffed. He was on the ground. Yes, I've seen and I know how it feels to be handcuffed, because I've gone through the training of it. I've gone through the training on what it feels like to lay prone, because we went through those training drills in the academies, and so when you're laid out there, no one wants to. It's uncomfortable, and it inhibits your ability even to breathe and to function. So when you see that go on for such an extended period of time, I'm very pleased with the verdict and how this jury was able to interpret and had good common sense. There was unfortunately, I understand how the justice system can be so unjust, because there can easily be a lot of manipulation of truths and facts that are there, because folks have an agenda. They either want to prosecute someone or they want to get someone off. That's the way the system or the game is played. And so as a juror, you have a responsibility to pay attention and use good sound judgment, reasonable judgment. That jury did that.
Yeah, man, that's profound perspectives there. Profound. And yeah, I guess you having you on, and then I know next week we're going to have CJ Cleon Joseph to talk about. He is also a police officer, just coming from that perspective. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I actually have tried to put myself in a police officer's shoes. If that's my job, how would I have handled that situation? But you're right. It sounds like they do go through such a lot of training now, even though even though you have all of that training, there still are people who harbor hate in their heart and use their authority to exercise that on the people. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that. I agree with that because unfortunately people bring their personal bias, sometimes what they consider to be their unintended bias.
Mm-hmm.
Some it is, just their lack of knowledge and experience.
Mm-hmm.
We and I can definitely speak for myself as an African American man, I've always had to come in to assimilate, adapt, and adjust to other white cultural environments.
Mm-hmm.
Very few times, and it's not often, do I have my white counterparts that have to come in and to adjust and adapt to the black culture or certain aspects of black culture. And
Mm-hmm.
so, when that's there's not a reciprocal or even a concern to do that, you'll find individuals saying, well, they were threatening, or
Mm-hmm.
they were just out of control, or um, for instance, I come from a family that is very gregarious in their celebration and laughter. In other words, we just loud, man. We loud and crazy. So if you show up at a picnic, we gonna be showing that, hey,
Right,
we
right,
gonna
right,
come out
right.
here. And if you're an outsider and you don't know that, they're like, we slapping each other high and we're
Right.
jumping up, fist bumping, and bumping chests. I ain't seen you, and we gonna drop some words. They may drop some words that be like, oh, but we're happy to see each other.
Yeah.
There's no, but from an outsider looking in, they'd be wondering like, is everyone okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everyone
Mm-hmm.
is great. We're having a
Mm-hmm.
good time because
Mm-hmm.
these same individuals that you're looking at, this is a time for them to let their hair down and be free. But all of them are well educated. They got law
Right.
degrees.
Yes. Yes.
They got
Yes. Yes.
PhDs. And when that time of interaction is over, they go right back into the white culture that they have to function in as a profession, and they function in it because they know
Mm-hmm.
that's the accepted status or criteria. So
Mm-hmm. 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 All right. So when we talk about your book and you sharing at the essence of survival and how to self-care is what I'm hearing. Like, tell us, give us a step to cope. I think you mentioned,
yeah.
give us a little bit.
So when you talk about surviving, I always tell folks that you have to go back to your training. One of the things that we used to talk about as a police officer, if you want to survive the streets, and not just, I'm talking about like major confrontations, I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
just sometimes the natural stresses that come with the job. You have
Mm-hmm.
to train physically, emotionally, and I believe even spiritually. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, the spiritual dynamics are just as important as any of the others. A lot of times you just see a lot of emphasis placed on, man, be able to run fast, run 3-4 miles, do your push-ups, have upper body strength. Yeah, all
Mm-hmm.
that is great from a physical perspective, but if you don't have the spiritual and emotional fortitude, it will cause you to break down, because you got to remember you're daily being exposed to trauma,
Yeah.
to the worst of people. And I'm not just talking about people that don't like you, but I mean, when you have to go in and deal with, you know, explaining to a parent that their child was just killed in a car accident, or that, some other tragedy that took place, and, you would, it takes an emotional toll on you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, I found myself many times having to be one that added compassion and comfort, as well as being, unfortunately, that messenger, not the best messenger or the messenger that I wanted to be, the bearer of bad news, but also to be able to reinstill a hope. I tell folks that if you're surviving, the challenges of life, one of the best ways of healing is to go back and say, listen, For instance, if it's the loss of a loved one, one of the greatest challenges my wife and I experienced is we both lost our mothers within 10 days of each other.
Oh man. Wow.
Passed. My wife's mother passed 10 days later.
Yeah.
My mother's passing was unexpected completely.
Mhm.
My
I know
mother-in-law
that one.
had been suffering. And so, one of the things that my wife and I that caused us to bond together was, we shared the mutual loss. So I was able to encourage her. She was able to encourage me. She knew how I felt. I knew how she felt. And a lot of times when individuals have never lost a loved one, uh, it's always difficult. And I'll be honest with you, Greg, when I was in school, I know I have a very eclectic background, but my,
Yes.
my degree is actually in theology, pastoral care. My
Yes.
heart is that of a minister and a pastor. But
I
I
got to
just
be honest with you. I used to look at you as the police and go, "Okay, how does that work?"
so I'm gonna tell you the funny thing, Greg, was when I first came on, I had one of the writers with the Times, a guy by the name of Rick Serrano. He went out for a ride along one with me, and his caption line on the Metro page of the Times was, he arrests sinners and prays for them too." I'm like, really? Is that
Wow.
the best you could come up with? He arrests
Right?
sinners and prays for them too.
Wow.
Uh, okay. But back to really dealing with the loss of loved ones. I felt like that was one of the most challenging areas for me. Like I just sucked as far as, finding the right words to say and being able to comfort people in the right way and being able to support them in the right way. But one of the things I found is as God worded my mouth, and I really took the focus off of myself and I put it on the person. It's not always what you say, it's the fact that you're there,
Mhm.
that you're present.
Mhm. Mhm.
We always hear that cliche, hey, if I can do anything, you need anything, let me know.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
if I need anything, what, you got a stack of hundreds, a stack of thousands?
Mhm.
No,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
it really is. Just know that I'm going to be here for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just know that I'll be that listening ear. I'll be that person that you have access to. And sometimes that's what people need, a listening ear and someone that they have access to. So
Mhm.
that's one of the real nuggets and gems that I try to push through Survivors of Storms. Um, I talk a lot about the decisions that you have to make,
Mhm. Mhm.
difficult decisions on if you're going to have a pity party, because there's a cycle that comes with um, when you've been devastated by life, when you've
Yes.
hit the storm, because storms are something that you don't expect.
Mhm.
You don't expect the storm. They usually catch you. They usually blindside you. A storm usually shows up like a freight train on a beach. It just comes out of nowhere. And when it hits you, and I always tell people, you're going to find yourself. So pay close attention to life. You're going to find yourself in one of three places. You'll find yourself about to go into a storm,
Mhm.
in the storm, or coming out of the storm.
Mhm. Mhm.
And no matter what season or what stage you're in, you're still going to have to experience healing from this cycle. And the cycle is this: because you didn't expect it, you find yourself disappointed because you didn't get what you expected. For instance, you prayed and you wanted God to heal your mother, and she wasn't healed. You didn't expect her to die. You expect her to be healed. You expect her to be with you forever. She dies. And so now when you deal with that unexpectedness, you find yourself disappointed, and then you find yourself frustrated.
Mhm.
Where that frustration shifts and you find yourself becoming angry. And then from anger, you find yourself at what I call a point of no return, which is bitterness.
Mhm.
And you find a lot of angry, bitter people going through life because, yeah, they survived the storm. They didn't expect for it to go that way, but they've never got a chance to heal from it. And so they find themselves angry and bitter. But I am honestly a living witness, man, on how God has the ability, your family, your community, those that you value. You can sit around and have a pity party if you want to. That's a choice. But if you open yourself up to healing, man, when you allow that healing to take place, then you can go out and connect with others, be a blessing to them, and help them through their storm. So that's the real mission of a survivor of storms.
It's really profound, just, living a life of service and, not, and yeah, I'm feeling this 100%, Derek McAllister. I
Yes, sir.
really am thankful for, just for that word today, because it's we all go through stuff, and, like you say, we can just hold on to it and begin to get angry and bitter and live a life of, unnecessary, torment to ourselves. You understand? So this is really, we just gotta get through it. Look at that. We're definitely on topic. Family has had a number of deaths this year. That's Corinne Fuller. Yes, man, we're losing a lot of people everywhere that we go.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you, you
And
know.
that's for real, Greg, especially because of the pandemic. So many people that we've lost that we didn't expect to lose. We didn't expect
Mhm,
to lose in this capacity. And that's why I think, Survivors of Storms is um, so relevant now. It's relevant because, one, if we're still here, that means we have survived. God has kept us here for a purpose. He has more for us to do. If we've experienced loss and we're managing it and we're overcoming it, I think we have unlimited opportunities to connect with other people that have had loss of loved ones, and help them through their journey of grief to wholeness and to be restored. So,
mhm,
this is
mhm,
this is the time for us as community and family to step up like never before.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Man, just yeah, absolutely. I'm just reflecting. It took me a long time to balance myself after the loss of my parents. It just
Sure.
took a long
Yeah.
time. And everything. I'm feeling everything that you're saying, and then too, as we look at what's happened just over the past 12 months all around us, I feel, you know, biblically speaking, I feel like I put the the lamb blood over the door there, brother.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah.
Woo, I'm just really, thankful, and this is information that people really need in such a time as this. If you lost a loved one, now where can they get the book?
So you can get it on Amazon. It's right there. All you have to put in is my name, Darren McAllister, right there at
Mhm,
the bottom there. Or you can put in Survivors of Storms, SOS. It's entitled SOS, Survivors of Storms. If you put one of those two in, or Darren McAllister, it will come up. And I believe it will be a blessing. I'm going to be out and about in the community, hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, at a couple of churches and around at a few other venues, signing some books, and just trying to really share this message of hope to anyone that needs the support. Um, and even if it's, sometimes we've had this stigma in our community that, um, we avoid counseling, and to have
mhm,
that mental health checkup. I even make some referrals to our counseling centers that we have available here
mhm.
at the church at West Angeles and in the community, that they're very helpful and supportive of us.
That's very good. I'm gonna find it and put it in the chat for a minute. Well, before we go out, I gotta ask you, because so we're approaching Juneteenth, and as you saw, we are really active in producing some major, digital presentations in commemoration of Juneteenth. We're deep in production right now. What is your reflection of? I have two questions. First of all, I want you to reflect on freedom. As a black
Mhm.
man, shit, leave us with that. But let me just, before we do that, I know I gotta ask. Okay, I know that you've been rolling alongside the presiding bishop, Bishop Charles E. Blake, one of the greatest men
Yeah,
I know. That's what I know.
absolutely.
I mean, you had a
Absolutely.
front row seat to our man, as he did his thing all across. That's our guy, right? So we sent him
Yes,
across
sir.
the world to lead the whole, Kojic and everything, and you've seen quite a bit and everything. I got to ask, how's he doing now as he has emeritized himself and he's just kicking back? Is he at the pool right now? Is he poolside?
I love the fact to see that, you know, someone that has worked, and when I say worked, I mean I've known Bishop Blake and been a part. He's been a part of my life and allowed me to share in his for almost 35 years now. And so when you talk about someone that grinds, um, I've been with him and I've seen him preach 4 or 5 times in one Sunday, one day, and that's because he loves people, he loves God, but he also loves his family. He's a real family man. No one is more precious to him than the one and only Lady May.
That's
And
right.
in this season, he jokingly said this, but he means it. He says, "I'm gonna be chased." He says, "Let's see if I can get it right." Yeah, I wanna catch up with May and spend a little time with May. And that's exactly what he's doing.
That's right.
He's been hanging out with Lady May, and I always teasingly share with them. I said, "You all are so funny. They are endearing because they remind us all of the mom and dad we have or may have had,
Mhm.
and
Mhm,
just
mhm.
to see how they flow together, how they um, it's powerful, man. It's
Right,
powerful.
right. That's right.
So
That's right. Wow. Okay. Well, I just wanted to know because we look. I feel like I've seen him a couple times on video. I'll say, "Oh, he got a little pep in his step right there."
yeah, man. Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
Absolutely love it. Well, give us an expression of freedom, Darren. Juneteenth freedom, brother.
So
What's your
so
reflection?
so I'm gonna have to wrap up here in a minute, Greg, but I gotta share
Yes,
this
me too.
with
Yeah.
you in regards to freedom. Freedom is not free. And we all have to be reflective in recognizing all the great sacrifices that have been made and still continually need to be made for freedom to exist.
Mhm.
The next generation at this season of my life, I got this gray. When you met me, I didn't have this gray. I didn't have this clean head, man. I had a shag, I had all that going on. But
Yeah, yeah.
in this season, I've had enough to watch, but I believe my mission and my goal is to pour in to the next generation and to equip them with first and foremost an appreciation and then a commitment to give back, a commitment to give back to others, to their seniors, to those that will be coming also behind them, that they will have the blueprint, the understanding, the knowledge. I'll say this real quick. Judy and I went to school in Tulsa, Oklahoma. 5 years I
Mhm.
spent there. I never heard about Black Wall Street until 2 years ago. I never understood the details of all that took place there until 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
That was
wow.
after.
Yeah.
But now that I have that knowledge and I'm equipped with it, I'm obligated to share it. It's the same with the next generation. As we pour into them, they're obligated to share it because that freedom, again, was not free.
Mhm,
And we
mhm,
all have to make that sacrifice and have a commitment to making sacrifices for others.
mhm. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Darren McAllister, you guys. Thank you so much, Darren, for stopping through. I know you got to get going. Us too.
Greg, man, I love you, man.
I
Life,
love you
man. You're
too,
my
brother.
dude.
Yes,
And keep
sir.
doing what you're doing in the community. You're making a difference. You're changing lives, man. You know the love we got for you at West
Yes,
Angeles. And
yes,
Bishop
sir.
Blake and Lady May, they got their love for you also, man. Tremendous. So
Yes, sir.
you're right in there, brother. Be
All
blessed.
right.
Stay strong.
All right. Be blessed, Darren. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
Okay, you guys, listen. So we're gonna Darren McAllister, put the link to his book in there, Reflections of Juneteenth. I'm going to leave you all with a little video that Rhonda sent me here and want to share with you guys. But just know that you can get this on demand at our Coffee Conversations with Greg J page. Then you can also listen to the audio only version, right? We're going to upload that as a podcast, and wherever you get your podcast, on Apple, on Spreaker, on iHeart Podcast, just wherever, man, just go Coffee Conversations with Greg J. We have our other podcast, Afro Pop Radio, and sometimes they'll pop up together because they're built under the same family. Don't forget, we're doing the Juneteenth virtual celebration, and also Reflections of Juneteenth. Got a lot going on around here. You're going to hear a lot about it over the next couple of days. Thank you so much to the AIDS Healthcare Foundation and City National Bank for supporting us. Look, I'm going to try to just go to the page. We have a page there that is Juneteenth Virtual Heritage Festival, and click the link and register. It's free and all of that. But let's see a little bit more history of Juneteenth as we go out. And before we go, I'm going to tell you, love one another. Love one another. Love one another. Thank you so much for listening. Let me just get this video going for you all. Had to do it this way because it came down in a certain way. So there it is. I know you guys like our behind the scenes. Here it is right here. This is a trailer that's made by Mr. Collins that Rhonda was talking about. Probably the preeminent scholar on Juneteenth history, and especially migrations and causes and effects for African-American people, enslaved people there. But check out this trailer. Okay. I think I'm sharing now.
In 2020, Juneteenth became popular, but Juneteenth has always been important. June 19, 1865, is the day that Major General Gordon Granger issued General Order Number 3 here on Galveston Island. But Granger was not alone. He came with thousands of Union soldiers, many of them United States colored troops. See, they had brought the message of freedom to Galveston and to Texas, to the enslaved people at that time. This documentary will explore life before June 19th, 1865, the events of June 19th, 1865, and then life afterwards and the celebrations. See, this is a story of success. This is a story of the journey of freedom here in Texas. This is an American story, a Juneteenth story, and most of all, a Galveston story.
Well, there it is, the Galveston story. So that one, she announced we're going to be premiering that, I guess, at the Juneteenth Virtual Heritage Festival. So that's a beautiful thing, beautiful thing, beautiful thing. All right, y'all, I'm out. Have a great day. God bless you.